Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another thing. Because this thing is about a comment made in a recent video where someone asked what the small Dungeons & Dragons thing on the shelf behind me was. Which is very well spotted because it's kind of tiny back there, but it is indeed Dungeons & Dragons. So I had been considering making a video about it for a while. Because it's a mini dice dungeon. Now this is a silly little thing, it was a gift I was given. But it's way cooler than it first appeared, which is why I'd considered making a video about it. And I thought I'd take this opportunity to respond to a comment in video format. Now, as usual, I'll have a wee look at that on the desktop in a second. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who are wonderful, wonderful people who make all of this possible. So their efforts are very much appreciated. Now, if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, or you'd like to gain access to these videos a week early, or you'd like to gain access to one of the other levels of patronage we've got, then we've got a Patreon in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's go over to the desktop and have a look at a mini dice dungeon. So, this is my mini dice dungeon, Dungeons & Dragons mini dice dungeon. Now, it's from Hatchette Productions, the same people who bring the Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer magazine. So we know the kind of quality we're going to get in here. It's going to be decent, but it's not going to be absolutely brilliant. Now, this was originally a gift from my nephew. I got it for Christmas last year. And he knows me so well. This was a really good choice. I have to thank him over and over again. It was far better than I thought it was going to be. Now, the box was mini dice dungeon with D20, warning, choking hazard, small parts not suitable for children under 3 years. RP Minis seem to be the branding. I don't know if that's another company. RP Minis, an imprint of Perseus Books. When your dice act up and keep rolling critical fails, the best way to keep them in line is to put them in a timeout. This miniature kit includes a dungeon with LED light, an officially branded D20 dice, and miniature book with shame cards. Inside, we open it up, and we've got the dice dungeon itself, if it'll come out without me ripping the box. There we go. And it's kind of cheap plastic. The gate itself bends to open. It's really, really cheap plastic. Inside, we've got a fairly weighty, nice D20, although for me, it's too dark writing on the background. Although that does kind of make some sense. It's a D&D branded one, so on the 20, there's the ampersand sign. I'm not sure if that's showing up terribly well. Turn it towards the light a bit. And the dungeon itself, well, it's sort of moulded cave, some ivy on it, the Dungeons & Dragons logo on the top, a battery container there, and a switch on the back, because it lights up. And we can put the dice in, and it kind of illuminates it. And that looks kind of pretty. Apparently there's room for 4 dice in here, but I'm not sure, they'd be a bit crammed. But it really works well with the gem dice. That looks quite nice. But this is kind of thing you would get out of a dollar store or Poundland or some cheap shop. It's some plastic, it's an LED light, and it's a dice. This isn't really high quality stuff. And I've looked it up, and this box costs about £11. £11.95 I think I saw it online for. So way more expensive than you would expect something of this quality to be. But there's something that raises it up out of that. Let's put them up there. And it's certainly not this leaflet, which is product information, troubleshooting and how to replace batteries, and how to handle batteries safely. Keep them out of the reach of children. It's this booklet, the Guide to the Mini Dice Dungeon, because this is kind of fun. Inside, RP Minis of Philadelphia. Hatchette Book Group supports the right to free expression and the value of copyright. The purpose of copyright is to encourage writers and artists to produce the creative works that enrich our culture. Scanning, uploading, and distribution of this book without permission is theft of the author's intellectual property. So that's us told, but I do think this is kind of cool. I think they're quite right in this case. They've done a nice piece of work. So we've got contents, introduction, tips for taming your dice, best dice practices by class, do's and don'ts of dice handling, and what if they still betray me. So we've got at least 30-40 pages in this. A nice chunky little booklet. So we've got the introduction. When playing Dungeons & Dragons, the big campaign moments hinge on one thing and one thing only, your dice rolls. Our dice rolls are crucial in monumental successes. Maybe your dice are rolling better for your friend who left their dice at home. Well, congratulations, you're now proud owner of a Dice Dungeon. Dice Dungeon has state-of-the-art holding cell for misbehaving dice. And it's not just any holding cell, it's small but mighty that can hold up to 4 dice at a time, and has bars just wide enough to give your little delinquents a clear view of the game. Get your dice back on track, as well as practices to avoid, so you'll be back to rolling natural 20s, or at least non-critical fails, in no time. And the artwork's quite nice. And then we're on to tips for taming your dice. We recommend the following practices. Give them a secure home, a velvet drawstring bag, or a wooden box. Well, I think we all have our dice box or dice bag. Practice your rolls. Well, I think we probably all do that, rolling dice at the table just to get used to it. Performing a cleansing ritual. Okay, I think this is perhaps going a bit far. Any skilled mage or healer will tell you that a good cleansing smoke from incense or a bundle of herbs will keep your dice feeling calm and centered. But this is the highlight for me, the best dice practices to consider by class. So we've got different classes things. So barbarians, fighters or rangers, if you have multiple dice sets, roll them against one another and have them battle for your favour. Well, I think we've all kind of done this. We've rolled our dice against them to see which set's rolling well that night, and then we'll use those ones. For bards, perform a special song or rousing epic poem for your dice. I'm not sure I would go that far. Clerics, monks or paladins, spend some time in prayer with your dice and the deity your character serves. Druids, sorcerers, warlocks or wizards, perform a ritual and charge your dice under the light of the next full moon. And I quite like this one, or this is the funniest to me. For rogues, honestly, you should just probably put them right into the Dice Dungeon. They'll find a way out about it. So, if you're a rogue, you want your dice to be sneaky and be able to escape from a dungeon. Do's and don'ts of dice handling. The do's. Do show off your dice. Well, that seems fair enough. Do rub them between your hands like you're about to set a small fire. Do use the two-hand approach. Do blow on those little buddies to get rid of any dust or lingering bad luck. Do whisper sweet words of encouragement to gain maximum favour. Do celebrate those natural 20s with compliments and extra attention. The don'ts. Don't roll aggressively. Yeah, you don't want to hurt your dice, you don't want to fling them at it. And you don't want to surrender that D4 to the couch. Don't get them wet. I think he's mistaking them for gremlins here. Don't lend out your luckiest set. They're your special ones and are always safest in your hands. Don't let someone roll on your behalf. You don't want your dice switching allegiance. Don't get them dirty with your gaming snacks. Well, that image looks like a giant wheel of cheese. Who takes a giant wheel of cheese to a game? Although, now I say it, I quite fancy it. And don't ever yell at them. You don't want to scare your dice. But what if they still betray me? Well, basically, you use these cards. I made my adventurer shoot his fellow party member in the back with an arrow. I made our party's animal companion fly off a tavern table when my player attempted a vanity flip on said table. It cost her 1d4 damage. I permitted my adventurer to believe a barrel of mead was just a barrel of mead and not a mimic. I helped my adventurer deliver a killing blow, only to get their battle axe stuck in the wall immediately after. My player wanted to question a shady dwarf in a tavern. They could only perceive how nice their shirt was. And it says this book has been bound using handcraft methods and smith's own to ensure durability. No, it's not. It's just a standard glued booklet. It's not sewn or anything. But it's a really nice thing to add to it. The Dice Dungeon's a bit silly, and it makes it incredibly silly. It's a very fun addition. So that was my mini Dice Dungeon I've got for D&D. And while the quality of it's not great, it's something you'd probably expect to pick up in a dollar store or pound store for a quid or a couple of quid. It's the manual that comes with it. They present it with a certain amount of panache, which I totally appreciate. It was obviously put together by lovers of D&D, and I can only adore that effort that they throw in to making something which was going to be a bit cheap and nasty into something quite cool. But anyway, as usual, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough, especially about just a silly little trinket I've got in the background. So, thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.